Shot missed to the baseline by Mike Ladd. Welcome to all of you just finished watching UCLA stay hot. And the Bruins hang on for a win in Boulder against the Buffaloes. We're at Haas Pavilion in Berkeley for this Pac-12 matchup between Cal and Washington State, along with the coach Dan Belwaminy. Roxy Bernstein with you as Alan Crabb into the key is fouled, and we'll go to the free throw line for the Golden Bears.
Big win for UCLA, Roxy. I mean, they go on the road. They were tested in Utah. Utah playing much better than a lot of people thought they would. I mean, they gave UCLA a game for most of that contest, and then I thought the Bruins would have trouble going to Boulder. I really did. I thought Colorado was kind of laying waiting, and they might get UCLA, but give Ben Howland's crew certainly props. They're hot, and they won another close game, and that's what you've got to do on the road.
This game features the top two scorers in the Pac-12 conference. Alan Crabb at the line right now leads the conference at 20.5 a game, and then Washington State's Brock Modem with 29 against Stanford on Wednesday night is the second leading scorer in the Pac-12. And Alan Crabb puts Cal in front by a score of 4-3. Cougar foul was on Devontae Lacey, his first. There's Brock Modem on the post.
And David Kravish is really going to take the challenge and see what he can do against Brock Modem. See if he can slow him down, front him, keep the ball away.
What makes him so tough to defend?
Because he can shoot inside and out. I think the thing with Modem is we know he's a good post player, but he'll take the ball away, face, and he can score. He can score from three-point range.
Mike Ladd cleans it up inside. Does Royce Woolridge get an assist on that one?
Yeah, you do. Air ball assist. He'll say, I shot that short on purpose. I knew the guy was there to get it.
That's the old ABA.
Yeah.
Air ball assist.
There you go.
Here's David Kravish in the post against Modem. Jump hook rattles out. Offensive rebound. Robert Thurman has it stripped. He dives. He's tied up with Modem. Loose ball. Out of bounds. Cougar basketball. And that was a nasty scrum there between Thurman and Modem.
A shot here that Kravish thought was going down, and Modem, and Thurman has problems bringing the ball down, and other people come in and deflect. But you saw what he did when the ball's on the floor. I mean, Thurman's got to go down and make some issues for people that are going for the ball.
And that was a big problem across the board, Dan, for Cal in their game against the Huskies here on Wednesday night. As Mike Ladd with the open jumper. And a box out by Cal, but it goes out of bounds off of Washington State to the Golden Bears. But Cal had trouble, and Mike Montgomery was not happy with his team's performance here Wednesday night. Loose balls, they got out-hustled. I mean, look what Washington did in that game. The Huskies out-rebounded Cal by 15, and the Bears are a very good rebounding team. But what drove Montgomery crazy was 20 offensive rebounds for Washington in the game. And Alan Crabb hobbling off the floor. That is not a good sign for the Golden Bears.
No, but with all the injuries, with Ricky Krenklow who went down, with all of their guys, Smith who had the concussion, now you've got Alan Crabb who looks like he tweaked his ankle and is trying to walk it off. That's the last thing the Bears needed.
Tyrone Wallace in for Alan Crabb, the freshman from Bakersfield who had been starting recently for Cal. Here's David Kravish, the jump hook, and Cal goes back in front of the Cougars. Here's Brock Modem losing the ball inside. Cal looks to push with Tyrone Wallace. You mentioned Krenklow, Brandon Smith still battling the concussion. They've lost Christian Behrens for the season with a torn ACL. As now Richard Solomon is hunched over for Cal, clutching his left ankle on the floor, being helped to the floor, or from the floor. But Cal, Washington State, the top two scorers in the conference, a slow start. Cal leads it by 1. Pac-12 basketball is brought to you by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. And by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the game's most refreshing beer. Beautiful January afternoon here in Berkeley. Look at the Cal campus. Cal out to a 6-5 lead on Washington State, but some concern for Cal, Dan, with Alan Crabb.
Yeah, it looked like Alan Crabb may have just tweaked his ankle, and they were bandaging his hand also. I mean, it looked like his... So this is not what California needed.
That's the last thing that Mike Montgomery needs right now, without 3 key players already, and the conference's leading scorer getting looked at by the Cal medical staff. Cal with a lineup right now of Justin Cobbs, who will carry the load in the absence of Crabbe, who is back on the bench right now for the Bears. Along with Tyrone Wallace, Jeff Powers, David Kravish, and Richard Solomon, who's come off the bench now 2 straight games for California.
Really losing Brandon Smith, who's a guy that went out there, could play the point, handle the ball, and Kreklow, who's a perimeter player. I mean, that's 2 huge losses for California.
Kreklow may be Cal's toughest player, which is something this squad has been lacking. And the point where Mike Montgomery, after the game Wednesday night, essentially called his team soft with their performance against Washington. Here is DJ Shelton, shot clock at 3. Brock Modem has a 3 blocked by Richard Solomon. Justin Cobbs lob ahead, tipped, run down by Solomon, who dunks it over DJ Shelton.
Great transition by California. A block, a transition, a dunk. How do you like it?
That's what Mike Montgomery has been looking for from his team. Will DiOrio checks in for the Cougars as Mike Ladd well short on a 3. Cal looks to push, 3-on-2. Tyrone Wallace down the lane. Missed it, and a foul called against Washington State, and Dexter Koenig drew.
Now, California doing a really good job in transition, and Solomon gets a piece of that ball. And what I love about this is Solomon, proactive, just went right back down the other end. And that's how you finalize a play. I mean, that's a no-doubter. Just get it and go ahead and ram it through. So Richard Solomon, who, by the way, right before the game started, Roxy, Solomon was instrumental in getting his team together and saying every possession counts. Let's come out and, they're not coming off a good outing against the Huskies of Washington on Thursday night. Let's give Washington credit. They played very well. But Solomon felt his team had to do a good job of really playing a lot better this afternoon. And Alan Crabbe back on the floor, which is great news for California.
1 out of 2 for Wallace, and Brock Modem clears for Washington State. Cal with a 4-point lead here as we're about 5.5 minutes in Berkeley. Royce Woolridge back in for the Cougars. Reach-in foul against Tyrone Wallace of Cal. His first. That's 2 team fouls on the Golden Bears. A Washington State team that had a head of steam dam going into conference play. As Washington State and the Cougars had won 7 out of 8 and a 4-game winning streak once they entered Pac-12 play, but are 0-2, played very well in a tough home loss against the Huskies, and played well at Stanford, but came up empty against the Cardinal on Wednesday night down on the farm.
Well, the one thing about Washington State, Roxy, is they've lost a lot of close games. I mean, 5 points or less, they've lost quite a few. So they have not been able to close. But, it's a team that scraps. And certainly Ken Bone said, look, I like this team. I like the way we're playing. We just have to do a better job, especially late in the second half, of making key shots and getting some stops in order to close out games.
Richard Solomon against Junior Longris, the freshman who checked in for the Cougs. And rebound hustling for Woolridge, saves it, but right to Cal. As Richard Solomon missing again, and Dexter Koenig drew clears for Washington State. And the Cougars, they lose at the buzzer to Gonzaga, and a Kevin Pango shot. 1-point loss to Texas A&M. And an easy lay-in right there for Washington State, and Dexter Koenig drew.
Now, Koenig drew is an energizer and did a real nice job of playing without the ball. The Cougars just have not been able to make any shots on the outside. Most of their scores so far this afternoon have been layups.
Here's Alan Crabbe. The freshman Wallace knocks in the 3.
That's a big shot for Wallace. Did not score on Thursday night against the Huskies. So the freshman, I mean, that's a huge internal confidence boost for him.
Just his 9th three-pointer of the season. Pretty drive by Brock Modem.
Yeah, he makes a lot of tough shots. You watch Modem, and that was not an easy one. Of course, he's left-handed. But he will use those floaters all the way to the rack, and he gives you a variety of different looks.
How difficult is that to defend a guy like Modem, on top of the fact that he is left-handed?
It's difficult for Kravish because, he's a big, and Modem will take you away, and it's hard for big guys to play away from the rim.
And 1 for Alan Crabbe, who was fouled on his way to the basket.
Oh, here's the motion, and here's the last score on the three by Wallace. And good to see him get that one. And then Brock Modem, you got to overplay that left and force him to go to the right. And then good to see Alan Crabb after that ankle tweak earlier in the game. He's back in and looks like he's okay. I mean, he made a hard move there and able to finish it and get an opportunity for a three-point play.
Second foul on Dexter Koenig-Drew of Washington State as Alan Crabb gets his own miss. I think everybody was stunned he missed the free throw, but then Washington State steals it.
Well, even more stunned is Washington State by saying, who's got the shooter? I mean, that's kind of elementary 101 basketball. Someone has to be assigned to screen the shooter out.
Right, somebody's got to say, I got the shooter.
Normally that's what happens.
Cal pushes. Justin Cobb stripped. Nice play by Devontae Lacey. Out of bounds to Cal on the baseline. Bok checks in for Cal. 6'9" senior from the Sudan.
Well, Lacey took a calculated gamble there and did a good job to deflect that ball. I mean, that's 2-on-1 for California, and I'm sure Mike Montgomery said, you know, we got to score in that situation. Oh, underneath, I mean, Solomon, who's being guarded inside by Devontae Lacey, I mean, wants the ball. Look at Richard Solomon.
They got to look to get him the ball, right?
Yeah, why not? I mean, you got to miss. Well, now they finally do.
There it is. The big guy inside, too strong, and the rebound cleared by Junior Longris, the Oakland native back here in the Bay Area for Washington State. Devontae Lacey off balance and draws the foul. Will go to the free throw line and get a couple of third-team foul on California, but the Bears lead it by 5 over Washington State here in Berkeley. Top 2 scorers in the conference going at it. Pac-12 basketball presented by Quicken Loans, where Cal leads Washington State 14-9. But some concern for Cal. Alan Crabb just picking up his second personal foul. Even though they're up 5, that poses a problem for Mike Montgomery the rest of the first half, Dan.
Well, I thought for California, because they have a short bench to begin with, Roxy, that any foul trouble on anyone is difficult situation for the Bears. Now, compound that by your best player and leading scorer in the conference, Alan Crabb. So big decision by Mike Montgomery. If he leaves Crabb on the floor, I'm sure you'll go some zone, try to hide him a little bit. If he brings him back out, I think you got to look to target him if you're Washington State.
Maybe they could use that guy in the hat right there. That's Sean Lampley. And he is the second leading scorer in Cal history. Getting
my man, Sean Lampley.
Getting a fist bump right there from the coach.
You bet.
What a great player.
A great player. Yeah. And, you know, a great guy. And always at every California game that he can. And a good all-around person.
Well, if he's got that seat, why not?
Well,
he should come to every game.
Well, why not? I mean, if you're a superstar at your university, you should get a good seat.
Exactly. When he left here, by the way, he was the all-time leading scorer at Cal, but has been since passed by Jerome Randall. Missing both for Washington State at the line was Devontae Lacey. Cal with the ball and a 5-point lead. Crabb on the floor with his 2 fouls as Tyrone Wallace has his shot blocked by Junior Longris.
Yeah, remember this too, Roxy, against Washington on Thursday night, the Bears were 6 of 16 from the foul line. So that cannot happen. I mean, it's difficult enough, but you've got to cash in at the line and win that battle. So it's going to be interesting to see now if Washington State goes right at Alan Crabb. Whomever's got the ball has got to be alert that Crabb does have the 2 fouls.
Here's Bok inside. Foul going up. He'll shoot 2. As nice seal inside by the senior Bok.
Good position by Bok inside. And I thought made a strong move. Did pick up the foul, so see what he can do at the foul line.
You mentioned the poor foul shooting numbers for Cal. This is normally a good free throw shooting team. Over 70% collectively as a team as Bok hits the first. Now 4 of 5 at the line this season. They were off a game where they hit 21 out of 26 in a win at USC. But that was a maddening number, as you alluded to. 6 of 16 from the foul line against the Huskies.
Well, the other maddening number was only scoring 47 points. I don't, to my recollection, and I mean, how many Mike Montgomery teams have scored 47? I mean, they normally score a lot more than that. I think it's the lowest scoring home total under Mike Montgomery here in California.
Shot from the corner, knocked down by the local kid from the Bay Area, Junior Longris with the long two.
Yeah, it's got to be a big shot for Junior Longris. Bishop O'Dowd High School right here in the Oakland Bay Area. So coming back home, he's got a lot of family and friends here, so that's a big score.
Tyrone Wallace gets inside. Robert Thurman, the big man, spins, powers his way up. Too strong, and Brock Modem clears for Washington State.
I think what's happening with Washington State, Roxy, they're going to play right behind Thurman until he really makes the Cougars pay. I mean, they're going to stay right behind him until he scores. He hasn't so far. See if Modem can make a play here.
Nice help by Robert Thurman. Mike Ladd, kick out. Modem gets the three.
See, that's why he's tough to guard. So Modem was inside with his back to the basket and negated beautifully on the double. And Thurman kind of held him. Then he went outside, and he went behind the three, and Thurman said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "Right here," and he faces up and scores.
Double figures in each game of the season coming in for Modem in a 2-point Cal lead. He had 4 threes at Maples Pavilion on Wednesday night against the Cardinals. Tyrone Wallace stumbles. Gets it to Bach. Shot clock at 3. Bach, pull up, has it stripped, and Washington State comes away with it. 4 on 3. Mike Ladd throws it away, but run down by Washington State. And then crashing the key, an offensive foul against Ladd, his first.
Well, you asked me why Brock Modem is so tough to guard. Right here, they do a great job of stopping him. He can't score, but all of a sudden he steps behind the line and he surprises you if you're a big man defending him, because you don't think he's quick enough to get that shot off, yet make it. But look what he's done over the last couple of years. I mean, he's leading scorer in the Pac-12 last year and second leading scorer this year. Washington State's really had the last 2 years they've had the leading scorer in the conference with Klay Thompson, who's playing great, by the way, for the Golden State Warriors, and of course Brock Modem last year.
Bach is fouled underneath on a nice entry pass from Justin Cobbs, and Bach will go Bach to the free throw line. California just 4-4, Dan, at home this season, which is very uncharacteristic for a Mike Montgomery team. Now, they played a very challenging home schedule. Creighton has been in here, UNLV. The Harvard game was the one that was a little perplexing, I think.
Yeah, but Harvard's very good. I think a lot of people, they think Harvard, and they think, well, Ivy League, not too good.
No,
Wrong.
they're good.
No, they're good.
26 wins last year for Tommy Amaker. They made the NCAA tournament for just the second time last season.
And a couple of days later, they went over to St. Mary's in Moraga and were leading the whole game. And St. Mary's found a way to come back and win, but it could have been 2 in a row out here for Tommy Amaker's team. So, but California normally takes care of their home court, but they played a much tougher schedule this year.
And the Gales had to respond for being 18 down on their home floor to Harvard on New Year's Eve. Cal by 3. They've led by as many as 7 already in this game. Dexter Koenig-Drew goes baseline in a pretty reverse by the sophomore from Australia.
Yeah, how do you like Dexter Koenig-Drew? I mean, he's come up with a couple of scores, and he has been really active. And who is guarding Koenig-Drew? It looked like it was Alan Crabb, and Drew said, okay, I'm just going to put it on the floor and go right to the basket.
Against a guy who has 2 fouls.
You bet. I think that's a smart play.
And a travel called against Bach, and Cal with a turnover. They're third. The Bears have gone over 4 minutes now without a field goal.
So Crabb is saying to himself, I don't want to pick up a 3rd foul. Koenig-Drew understands the situation, and I'm sure Ken Bone said, look, just go ahead and drive. Do it again now. I think Koenig-Drew's got to get proactive with the ball. The man's guarding him's got the 2 fouls.
Modem long on the 3. And David Kravish loses the ball, hustling, and it's out of bounds, and it goes right back to Washington State. And again, the inability of Cal to secure the rebound and get a loose ball.
Yeah, that typifies the way California's been playing the last couple of games. They're trying to get re-energized, trying to regroup against this Washington State team.
Have you seen a little bit more fire from them?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. I saw part of the game against – now, I'll tell you this. The Huskies are coming on. They're healthy, and Njai kind of dominated that game. The big guy had a terrific game for the Huskies. So California, though, is playing with a little more defensive energy, I think, in this one than they did on Thursday night. They're going to need it. I think the Cougars will give the Bears all they want.
Alan Crabb checks out for California as Brock Modem works on Richard Solomon. 3 from the corner. Too strong from Mike Ladd. Out of bounds to California. So California basketball, David Kravis trying to hustle, put forth the effort for the Golden Bears. They lead the Cougars by 1. Pac-12 basketball is brought to you by Esurance, now offering savings for Pac-12 students and alumni. Find out more at esurance.com/Pac-12. And by Quicken Loans, engineered to amaze. California clinging to a 1-point lead on Washington State. 7:49 left in the first half. Coming up next here on Pac-12 Networks, more Pac-12 men's basketball as the Utah Utes, who gave UCLA all they could handle on Thursday night in Salt Lake City, hosting Eric Wise and the USC Trojans in a game USC went down to the wire with Colorado.
And USC, both of these teams are playing much better. There's Eric Wise, and a very good all-around player. There's not going to be any easy wins. I thought there might be some easy wins this year in the Pac-12. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. Eric Wise having a big year for the Trojans, and so that's a good one coming up next.
That's after we're done here in Berkeley as Washington State on a 7-1 run right now. As Cal leads it by 7. And speaking of 7 points, that's the new football coach at California. Sonny Dykes is here today, taking this one in. Ready to embark on his first season as the head football coach here at Cal. Of course, had some Pac-12 ties, was an offensive coordinator at Arizona before going on to Louisiana Tech, where he's the head coach.
Roxy coming out of this timeout, looked like the Cougars are going to go zone, and Powers gets a pretty good look.
Tyrone Wallace, an offensive rebound, put back +1 for the freshman underneath.
The Cougars love to switch their defenses, trap, man-to-man zone. This is the first time we looked at a zone. This is an excellent look, but as you know, Roxy, in the zone, you don't have that man-to-man responsibility to block out. So it's really critical if you're Washington State to get all 5 guys back in there to rebound the ball. Wallace, a nice job to get it off and in for California.
Gets a 3-point play. He leads Cal with 7. And Dexter Kernick-Drew just picking up his 3rd personal foul with 7:25 remaining until halftime, and California already in the bonus.
See if Modem goes away outside being guarded by Solomon. I think that's going to be a tough cover for Solomon all the way outside if they get Modem the ball. Shot clock going down.
DJ Shelton airballs a 3, but cleaned up by Mike Ladd.
We've seen that before.
That's the second ABA
We've seen it before.
Airball.
Maybe that's a planned play. Now, that's not a bad move. You shoot an air ball on purpose. Everybody thinks it's going to hit the rim, except your teammate who's in the right place at the right time. How do you like it?
We know Ken Bone's a smart guy.
That could be a really smart play. Not too many teams utilize that one.
And the rebound cleared by Washington State. Here comes Mike Ladd. 2-point California lead. Foul. 3 free throws coming for Brock Modem as he was fouled by David Kravish.
That's the kind of play you use in the Australian summer leagues. And Modem, is this going to be a 3 or a 2? Oh, definitely a 3. Was there any contact, though? It didn't look like there was a whole lot of contact, maybe a little bit, but Modem, I mean, he's a smart guy. One of 3 Australians on this Washington State Cougar team.
It almost seemed there was no intent to make the shot from Modem.
No, there wasn't.
I'm sure he wanted to, but he sends the foul.
You know what that was? That's an NBA play. That's a guy going outside, anticipating a whistle, and just kind of jumping in and hopefully just getting the call. Just saying, I know I'm going to get the whistle. Let me just throw it up there.
2 for 2 so far at the line for Modem. Was a 75% foul shooter. Last year led the conference in scoring. It was a first-team All Pac-12 performer. And he's inching up the Cougar scoring chart. Over 1,270 points for the Aussie, who goes 3 for 3 and gets the hat trick from the line. And Washington State goes in front.
I know Modom's got, what, 8, 9, 10, but he has not shot a lot.
Richard Solomon attacks the basket. Will DiOrio down the lane, drops it off. Junior Longris can't get the roll, but tipped out to Washington State, Mike Ladd. DiOrio is fouled. Richard Solomon picks up his first.
Well, this is a great pass by Cobbs, and he's got that vision and a beautiful job by Solomon to just play without the ball. Really, nobody guarding him that time. I think Solomon, I don't know how you get lost when you're 6'11" running the baseline, but didn't look like anybody was on him. And just a smart play and a good pass and a beautiful finish.
Cobbs, who averages 4 assists a game, 4th in the conference, as Allen Crabbe comes back for California. As Will DiOrio, now 12 of 15 from the line this season, knocks down the first. And more coming for the junior from Bainbridge Island, Washington. And the rebound, out of bounds, Washington State basketball. Mike Montgomery clearly frustrated there. Again, a wisecrack there for Roderick Dixon, working his game with Michael Reed and Kurt Walker. Tyrone Wallace, too strong on the 3. And the rebound slapped out of bounds by Washington State. It'll stay with California. Coming up on the State Farm Halftime Report, Mike Yam and Tom Tolbert in the Pac-12 Network studios. Number 1 goes down today. Another unbeaten falls. And we'll take a look at the first half stats and analyze what we've seen here between the Bears and Washington State as a steal for the Cougars. 4 Cal turnovers.
It's interesting how Crabbe is guarding Modem. And Crabbe's got 2 fouls. See if they switch off. They do now. Now they get Solomon on Modem. Well, that was good. Solomon's kind of been all over the place. He's blocking shots, dunking balls. You could tell he was energized before this game started.
Well, there is volleyball history in his family. Amra Solomon, his older sister, was a standout volleyball player here at Cal. They're showing.
I thought he was a karate guy. I thought he was karate when he was a kid.
Well, he was, but the sister was the volleyball standout.
Well, he learned from his sister.
Exactly.
Why not?
Tied at 22, 5:21 to go in the half as a 30-second timeout by the Cougars. Join us for live women's gymnastics later tonight at 7:30 as we bring you a showdown between the top 2 preseason favorites in the Pac-12 on the number 5 Utah Utes head to Westwood to clash with number 2 UCLA in a premium matchup only on Pac-12 networks. Look at that gymnastics history. Women's gymnastics, Dan, is a big deal at Salt Lake City, the University of Utah. The crowd trying to get into it here on this beautiful Saturday afternoon.
Now, Roxy, let's go back to Richard Solomon's sister. I understand she was a superstar at Cal.
Yes.
Not just a player at Cal. So did you give her all her props that she deserved?
She was an all-conference performer.
That's right.
Very good.
Amra. That's my recollection.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Amra, you're close.
Amra. Okay. Good for her.
Royce Woolridge missing a 3. Richard Longris, rather Junior Longris, keeps it alive. Again, Longris. That short rebound, Justin Cobbs kicked away. Washington State gets it back. Brock Modem, offensive foul, a charge into Richard Solomon. First on Modem.
Nice anticipation by Richard Solomon to accept that foul. That's just being alert, being heads up, right place at the right time, not trying to block shots, which he can, and moving his feet and getting his body in the right spot.
Tie game inside, 5 minutes to go in the first half. Looking for David Kravish, and Justin Cobbs throws it away. Washington State gets the ball back. The Cougars look for the lead on Mike Montgomery's team. Bones Ball Club looking for a Bay Area split, looking for their 3rd straight win over the Golden Bears. And a late whistle and a double dribble is called against Royce Woolridge of Washington State.
Now, they haven't won here. Washington State has not won here in, what, at least 4 years.
2008. And you look back.
It's been a long time.
The days of Kyle Weaver, Derek Lowe, Taylor Rochestie.
Oh, you got it.
Robbie Cowgill.
Robbie Cowgill. That was the team that came in here and won. Was 2000, like you said, 2008. Good steal by Woolridge. Can he finish now?
Here's Woolridge, steal and bucket.
Oh, he looked like his dad, Orlando Woolridge, in the open court.
Who passed now at USC.
Who passed away, by the way, recently and much too early. And I can remember going way back to Kelly Tripucka, Orlando Woolridge, Bill Lane Beer.
Did you coach against it?
Yeah, we did coach against that team. And they went to the Final Four, don't forget, in 1978. Remember they had Rich Branny, Bill Hanslick. So this is a lot of tradition with this man right here, Royce Woolridge. How about that play?
Washington State leading California by 2 late here in the first half as Golden Bears, Dan, they got off to a 6-0 start this year. They won the championship of the tournament Thanksgiving weekend down in Anaheim. But since that 6-0 start, it's been tough sledding. Now, the schedule's gotten more difficult for Cal, but what else have you noticed with the Golden Bears the last 9 games?
Well, I think, you know, you said it. The schedule got a lot more difficult, and then injuries started to happen. You don't have Kreklo, so he's a guy that Mike Montgomery was counting on to be a long-range shooter, an energizer to come in the game. Brandon Smith goes down, and you need Brandon on the floor because he's a stabilizer, he can handle the ball, he doesn't turn it over. And California was not deep to begin with, so you play all the tougher teams, you don't have all the pieces together, you start to lose some close games, then you start to question yourself, can we do it, can we not? And California struggled over the last 9 games.
Yeah, Brandon Smith still out with a concussion. Has missed the last 5 games now, including this one, has not played since before Christmas. DJ Shelton over the back foul against Washington State in the first on the junior from Rialto, California. That is the 9th team foul in Washington State. So a 1-and-1 for Cal back at the other end with 3:35 remaining here in the first half. And it's Robert Thurman to the line starting for the 2nd straight game. Just on the season, though, has struggled from the free throw line. Thurman is just 2 of 9. 1-and-1 for the former walk-on. Gets the first.
Well, that's got to make him feel good. And anytime you're 2 of 9 at the line, and he put that one up high, which I like. I like shooters to get it way up in the air, but Thurman backed off the line and I think was a little surprised it went in. Well, he shot them both great.
He made them both.
They're what, 9 of 12 this afternoon after going 6 of 16 against Washington on Thursday night. So that's a great sign for California.
And a guy that was just 2 of 9 from the line on the season hits both ends of a 1-and-1. Tie game. Offensive foul, a clear out against Devontae Lacey, and that is his 3rd personal foul. So Lacey and Kernick Drew, 3 fouls each here late in the first half.
Yeah, good call. And Jeff Powers playing good defense, establishing himself and anticipated. So Washington State, Lacey's got 3. I mean, they got some people in foul trouble themselves.
And the Cougars' depth will get tested here late in the first half. And David Kravish being hustled off the floor here by the officials. Looks like he has a little bit of blood on his back of his uniform. As the Cal athletic trainer Barry Parsons looking at David Kravish, and he sends him right back out onto the floor.
Say, you're okay. We got the blood off, you're ready to go. And the other big test now for Washington State is with Brock Modem off the floor.
Where do the points come from?
Yeah, where do the points come from?
And Lacey with 3 fouls off
and Lacey.
the floor.
So they're going to struggle, the Cougars, to find a go-to player that can get them some points. I'm hoping their defense will carry him and they can get a few stops.
Alan Crabb with his 2 fouls for Cal. Justin Cobbs drives, shovels it through. Jeff Powers runs it down for Cal. Shot clock at 7.
That's a great move by Crabb just to go get the ball. That's a good-looking shot by Powers.
Powers for 3.
Crabb made it happen. Crabb said, oh my gosh, the shot clock's running down. Let me go get the ball. And then he finds the wide-open Powers. Well done by Alan Crabb. Very unselfish.
So Jeff Powers responding with his first start of the season has 5. Just his 3rd career start for the local kid. Mike Ladd off balance. He's fouled by Cobbs. And the first against Justin Cobbs of California, and Ladd will go to the foul line.
Well, here as the shot clock was winding down, proactive by Crabb to flip it to Powers, who had a great look at it. He's a good looking shooter. And of course, Allen Crabb, who hurt his ankle earlier in this game, and not quite sure if he's 100%, Roxy, because he's not looked to score very much. And normally he's a guy that will, try to dominate the ball and make plays. So I'm not sure that he's just out there on fortitude right now, saying, my team needs me and I'm going to be on the floor.
Justin Cobbs has not even attempted a shot from the floor today.
And why is that? I think Justin Cobbs is being so unselfish that he is passing up shots. And we know his role is to run this team, but he's a scorer too. He can make plays.
Throckmorton back on the floor is a foul away from the ball, and a shove against David Kravish inside, and a foul on Cal. And for David Kravish, his second personal foul.
And Diorio,
that's the 8th on the Bears.
Yeah, Will Diorio took a pretty good shot here. Oh, well, that's what happened. And now you get a great, and the officials may look at this. I think they may go to a monitor because Kravish got a little frustrated and grabbed Diorio and flipped him around and put him on the deck. So I think if the officials may huddle up on this and get to a monitor and see exactly what happened, because it was a play away from the ball. And that's exactly, are they going to do that? I think in my view, they should.
It's also the 9th turnover against California as Michael Reed working with Roderick Dixon. Michael Reed on your right putting the headset on. The lead official here today, and they will look at the monitor to see if this warrants anything more than just a common foul.
And Kravish, and it looked like there's the elbow, and they got all tangled up. And as he spun around, Kravish put Diorio to the deck. Well, they could deem that as an intentional foul. They could. It's borderline. Right. Here's the part that I think may be deemed intentional. Not the first part, but when he flipped him around and spun him. This part right here. Here we go. Boom. That's like a takedown. The officials may say this is 2 in the ball.
Could be a flagrant 1.
Could be.
Definitely will not be a flagrant 2.
No, not a flagrant 2, but it could be a flagrant 1.
It appears they're going back to the monitor again. Take a look at it.
Now let me. Are they going to say just an offensive foul?
So it's just a common foul. No flagrant 1 or flagrant 2 assessed. A common foul against David Kravish. His second personal foul. And it's the 8th Cal team foul. And both sides, it's Mike Montgomery getting an explanation there. Have some foul difficulty. Washington State, Devontae Lacey, Dexter Koenig-Drew have 3 fouls each. For California, Allen Crabb, Richard Solomon, and David Kravish have 2 personal fouls apiece.
One final note on David Kravish. We know that he would never do anything intentionally to hurt any player. I think he just got tangled up, got a little bit frustrated, and tried to maneuver his body, and the player went down. And, in the end result, final analysis, I think the officials made a good call. I think it was something they had to look at, but I think they made a very good call at the end.
Throckmorton against Robert Thurman, moving to his right. Left it short, offensive rebound. Mike Ladd missing a putback, and Tyrone Wallace, the freshman, clears for Cal. 3rd rebound for Wallace. He averages 5 rebounds a game from the guard position.
Now California trying to dictate a little bit of tempo, and look at Moda guarding Cobbs on the outside.
And a walk. Allen Crabb with Cal's 10th turnover of this first half.
Yeah, and Allen Crabb is not 100%. Hurt his ankle earlier. He's out there on determination alone. His explosiveness is not what you normally see. So maybe at halftime they can retape him, get in the locker room and see if he can come out strong in the second half.
Final minute of the half. Cal is led by as many as 7 here in this game. The lead right now is at 2 for the Golden Bears.
got to say the tempo of the game is Washington State. They want to play it in the 50s and the 60s. Nice little float. Oh, he's got that floater down, doesn't he, Modem? He can put it on the ground, and he can go to the rim, and he's got those little runners that seem to go in.
And the touch, too, from Modem, who has 10 double figures now in all 16 for Washington State this season. Cal can just about play for the final shot of the half. 4-second differential between the shot and half clock here for Justin Cobbs.
And the Cougars got to be alert. They may get an offensive opportunity if they're active. Now, this shot was a little bit early, so the Cougars could get a real good shot at it here if they get the rebound. Well, they didn't.
Robert Thurman, the loose ball on the lay-in. Here come the Cougars. Quickly, Royce Woolridge pulls up from just inside half court. An air ball short, and that takes us to the end of the first half with a tight one between Cal and Washington State. The Golden Bears with a 2-point lead on the Cougars here at the half in Berkeley. Coming up, our State Farm halftime report. Mike Yam and Tom Tolbert in the Pac-12 Network studios. A look back at UCLA and Colorado, the game from Boulder earlier right here on Pac-12 Networks. And the #1 team in the country goes down today. Mike Yam and Tom Tolbert have it next from our studios, but a good first half and a tightly contested first half between Cal and Wazoo. And the Golden Bears lead Washington State by 2. Quicken Loans, Pac-12 basketball, Pac-12 Network.
It is a battle of the conference's 2 leading scorers. Welcome to the State Farm Halftime Report. Mike Yam, Tom Tolbert with you. And right now, Cal is on top of Washington State, a 2-point advantage. But please explain to me what is going on with this Cal backcourt, because before the season, we've called them maybe the best backcourt in the entire conference. Not playing out that way right now.
Justin Cobbs hasn't taken a shot. 0 for 0. He's averaging 15 points a game coming in, and I know as a point guard, you want to get everybody else involved, but I mean, he's a scorer. He needs to be a scorer for Cal to do well. You look at their offense, they struggle sometimes. They need Crabbe, they need Cobbs, and I know Cobb's been struggling. I think over the last 3 games, 12 for 40 shooting, so not shooting particularly well, but he's still got to stay aggressive and still has to be part of this offense, because other than him and Crabbe, I don't know they have a lot of options. Yeah. And right now they ought to be thankful their bench is doing a nice job. I think the bench has 14 points in the first half, led by Solomon and Wallace.
Which is a positive concern.
Yes,
they have really lacked some bench play over the course of the last couple of games here. Allen Crabbe, just in case you're wondering, 4 points. Brock Modem, second in the conference in scoring. He's already at double figures with 10. In fact, double figures in every single game so far this season. But there's more to come here on the State Farm Halftime Report. Earlier today, you watched UCLA and Colorado. Is it time for Buffaloes fans to get a little worried? We'll examine that. It's coming up here on the Pac-12 Networks.
You see a place that's alive with purpose and passion. You see a place inspired by a long tradition of untraditional excellence. You see a place built by the people, for the people of California, the nation, and the world. What do you see? You see Berkeley.
Seder Gate on the beautiful Cal campus on this gorgeous January day. Here in Berkeley is the Golden Bears, a narrow 2-point lead on the Washington State Cougars here at Haas Pavilion. Along with the coach, Dan Belwaminy, Roxy Bernstein with you. At a 2-point lead, Dan, for Cal at the half. What stands out to you about the first 20 minutes?
Well, here's the big thing that stands out if you're a California fan. Cobbs and Crabbe combined 2 shot attempts. So that can't happen. That's got to change in the second half. And Justin Cobbs didn't take a shot in the first half. So you're wondering, you know, is his role now just to distribute, or, you know, he's not very proactive offensively. They need him to score. And I think the game is flowing perfectly for Washington State. Brock Modem had a big game, a big half. He had 10. You know, they haven't shot it as well as they could, but I think if you ask Ken Bone, he'd take the fact that he's 2 down at halftime. You know, they played reasonably well.
Let's take a look at the Esurance halftime stats. 10 turnovers for California in the first half. The Bears shoot 43%, go 9 of 12 with the line. How's Washington State getting it done?
Well, Washington State's really getting it done, rebounding the ball. They've done a decent job, but, the fact is that Modem had a big game and a big first half, and I think you go to Brock Modem, and he made some outside shots. They shot their threes fairly well. So Washington State's doing a pretty good job in the first half, hanging close. And if you're California, you've got to come out, and hopefully Allen Crabbe is 100%, Roxy. He got hurt his ankle in the first half. Didn't really show the kind of explosiveness that he normally, has. So we'll see how he plays to start the second half.
Again, this is a matchup of the two top scorers in the Pac-12 conference. Allen Crabbe, the conference's leading scorer, with only 4 points in the first half. And Brock Modem for Washington State leads all scorers with 10, as Allen Crabbe attacks early here in the second.
That's a great start for Allen Crabbe and the Bears. And certainly they need him. Second leading scorer in the Pac-12, so he didn't have very many points in the first half, so he's got to come out and try to put some points on the board.
Devontae Lacey, who has 3 fouls for Washington State, as Royce Woolridge down the lane and scores. Transfer from Kansas pulls Washington State back within 2. Justin Cobbs without a field goal attempt, and he's one of the top scorers in the conference. He is 9th in the Pac-12. Average is better than 15 a game. As Allen Crabbe drains the 3.
Yeah, right on cue. And I'm sure Mike Montgomery saw the stats at halftime and said, how do you not shoot the ball in the first half? And if you're okay, maybe they retape that ankle. Let's come out and try to get active offensively, and he has so far.
And there is Cobbs getting active for California. The tie-up, it'll stay with Washington State on the jump ball.
And he's a streaky shooter, Roxy, and Allen Crabbe. Brock Modem kind of backed off him a little bit, which you can't do. So you think that's a good matchup for Crabbe, as Modem at about 6'10", 6'11", will have a hard time moving his feet, staying with an active jump shooter on the perimeter.
Crabbe already with 5 here in the second half. He had a season-low 9 points against Washington here Wednesday night. Royce Woolridge, the tough pull-up. And Robert Thurman rips down the rebound. Cal looks to break. Pull-up 3. He missed it. Allen Crabbe, and the rebound cleared by DJ Shelton. Here come the Cougars. Devontae Lacey crashes the key in a blocking foul against Jeff Powers of Cal, his first.
Well,
couple of free throws for the Cougars.
And Powers tried to anticipate this, and that's a good call. He just never did get there. And so the official felt that, rightfully so, he was in the act of shooting. So it'll be a couple of free throws for the Cougars. And Devontae Lacey will get to the foul line.
Lacey knocks it down. Correction, it was the second foul on Jeff Powers of Cal. Cal fans looking on and encourage their team and enjoying this Saturday matinee between these longtime conference rivals. Brock Modem, an offensive rebound and put back.
Great hands by Modem. I mean, he is not going to miss it point blank.
Stripped. Here goes Royce Woolridge. One-on-one with Cobbs. Lays it in, and we're tied at 34.
But what you love about Woolridge is the anticipation at the defensive end to say, I'm not guarding Allen Crabbe, but I'm going to anticipate that he's going to make. As soon as I saw his back, I went to him, stole it, and went the other end. How do you like it, Washington State? That's a great play by Woolridge.
David Kravish puts California back in front. Seems both teams have been energized and have picked up their offensive play here early in the second half.
Neither team, I thought, shot particularly well in the first half, and that's changed so far in the second half here.
DJ Shelton, who hit 2 threes at Stanford on Wednesday. Modem from long range. Modem with 15. He had 20 in the second half against Stanford on Wednesday night. Finished with 29, tying a season high, and the Cougars lead it by 1. Offensive foul, David Kravish with his third.
Nice anticipation by Lacey. And really, if you're a smaller guy guarding a bigger guy, what other play do you have in there? So Kravish, all you got to do is turn around and shoot it. But instead, he got a little bit greedy, wanted to make the layup, but he's being guarded by a guy 5 inches smaller. So that little turnaround in the lane, 6-7 footer is probably a great shot. Now he's in foul problems, so Kravish will come out of the game. A big rebounding loss for the Bears.
Richard Solomon out on the floor for Mike Montgomery. Cougars with the ball and a 1-point lead.
I think you go right back to Modem. I mean, it seems like he's got a hot hand. I give it right back to him.
There he is, missing from the corner. Rebound, lost out of bounds. California basketball.
It was well executed by the Cougars. They got the shot they wanted, didn't go down. But they set that little slide screen for Modem, and he was open.
Ken Bone's doing a good job of getting Modem a touch every trip down the floor.
It's interesting, you talk to Ken, and he said, you know, make no mistake about it. Modem's got to get big numbers for us to win. I mean, we know that. The defense knows that. But he's good enough where he still puts numbers on the board.
Richard Solomon corrals a loose ball. And a foul called against Modem, his second. And Richard Solomon will shoot a pair of free throws here for California with the Golden Bears down 1. Washington State on the road looking for their first conference win. Hustling all over the place, but Cal with a chance to reclaim the lead. Big one coming up tomorrow night right here on Pac-12 Network from Matthew Knight Arena in Eugene. A couple of undefeated teams in conference play. Oregon, they've been dominant at home, led by E.J. Singler, Jordan Bashinsky, Jahi Carson. Arizona State, Dan.
How about Arizona State?
Team is 3-0 in Pac-12 play.
Yeah, and I think, you know, obviously, you know, picked at the near the bottom of the conference on the preseason rankings, but Arizona State play. How about E.J. Singler? Look what he has done in terms of points and rebounds with the big win against Arizona. Stole the ball 3 times and career points. Leads all the Pac-12 active players. So we know EJ is a clutch player in Oregon. You know, not surprising to me that they're playing well. I thought Oregon would be near the top of the conference. The shock is Arizona State. And, you know, when you see Bashinsky, you know, he changes the game. The guy is about 7+, and he does give you all kinds of issues when you take the ball and try to score against him. And they're UCLA winning a couple of road games, which is great for Ben Holland and the Bruins. And look at Arizona State and Oregon. So that's going to be a heck of a game on Pac-12 network.
Out of bounds to Washington State. We're tied at 37 here in Berkeley.
And I'm on Washington. And Lorenzo Romar getting, you know, coming in and playing well at 2-0 and trying to beat Stanford to go to 3-0.
Foul, by the way, called on Robert Thurman, his first. And it's the third on the Golden Bears here in the second half as Modem goes inside. Kick out. DJ Shelton way off on a 3, but Mike Ladd, an offensive rebound, and trying for the putback, is fouled. 3 now on Alan Crabb. Not quite the ABA there, the air ball assist, but
that's your favorite.
We saw it twice from Washington State in the first half.
One thing about DJ Shelton, remember against Stanford on Thursday, DJ, who's not known for his perimeter game yet, is a pretty good perimeter shooter. And he made a couple of big threes against Stanford.
Transfer from Fresno State, the senior Mike Ladd, who's from Seattle, puts the Cougars back up, missing the second. And the rebound run down by Jeff Powers for Cal, and stripped out of bounds by Mike Ladd. They're saying off Jeff Powers, and it's a Washington State basketball.
It's evident that Washington State's got the edge, quickness to the ball. And there, I thought, good call. Looked like it went off of Powers' knee. Now Cobb with the steal. See if Cobb can finish. Well, he gives it up again.
Feeds Alan Crabb, and a block is called, and 2 free throws for Alan Crabb. Royce Woolridge with his first, but everybody here at Haas Pavilion, the Cal fans at least, held their collective breath, hoping that it was a block and not the 4th on Crabb.
Yeah, great anticipation that time by Cobb to step in the passing lane. No, that was close, and I thought for a minute that Woolridge was inside the restraining circle, but he wasn't. He was outside and had deep. Now that could have gone either way. That would have been a devastating call on the Bears if Crabb picks up that 4th foul.
Crabb rattles it out, just 2 of 4 at the line.
This is Jeff Powers.
Tyrone Wallace in for Jeff Powers in the Cal lineup as the freshman coming off the bench today for Mike Montgomery is started the last 6 games. Jeff Powers getting his first start of the season as Crabb gets 1 out of 2, and we are tied at 38. Crabb now at 10, 6 coming already here in the second half. Brock Modem on the block. Royce Woolridge drives, dishes. DJ Shelton swatted by Justin Cobbs, but a foul called against Cal, and Shelton to the foul line. We're getting Robert Thurman with the foul, not Cobbs making the block attempt, but down below a push against Robert Thurman, his second.
It's intriguing to me that Woolridge has had that ability to break the defense down as much as he has, and he's not really a guy that, you know, controls the ball a lot, but he's coming off a very good game at Stanford, and he's been impressive, I think, today, and he's done a nice job for Washington State.
And this is a Cougar team, Dan, that's essentially playing without a point guard. It's Mike Ladd.
He took it away
Takes
from
the
him.
rebound away and a putback.
How do you like Mike Ladd? He just took it right away from Thurman and put it back in.
Largest lead for Washington State inside 15 minutes to play. But the Cougars, who lost their point guard 3 weeks before this season when Reggie Moore was dismissed from the team, it's Justin Cobbs, his first shot from the floor in this game.
Boy, Justin Cobbs, who's had some huge scoring games for Cal in the past, finally says, you know what, maybe I can put it on the deck and make a play. He's going to have to do more of that.
Here is Will Diorio down the key. Bumped, misses the shot, rebound Tyrone Wallace. Has it stripped, he's tied up in the backcourt. And a jump ball will go to California with 14:20 remaining, and Washington State up 1. Now the Cougars just took a 3-point lead. They led Stanford by 3 midway through the second half on Wednesday night at Maples Pavilion, but the Cougars were really dominated from that point on by Stanford 24-10 to finish the game. But Mike Ladd, 7 offensive rebounds in this game, and Washington had 20 offensive rebounds here Wednesday night against California. Cobbs drives at Modem. Crabb, 3, short. Offensive rebound, Richard Solomon. Foul on Washington State. And it's DJ Shelton called for his second.
Second personal, team's third.
And look at the tight games that Washington State has been involved in this season, losing by 1 to Texas A&M. They lost in overtime.
And wasn't that a buzzer beater?
Buzzer
too?
beater
Yeah,
by
right.
the Aggies. Overtime, they lose at Pepperdine. Gonzaga needed a buzzer beater to knock them off in Pullman as Kevin Pangos had hit that runner with 2 seconds to play to give Gonzaga the win. They lose a tight one at home to Washington to start conference play.
And played very well in the second half of that game against the Huskies. And as we said earlier, played a very good 35 minutes against Stanford on Thursday night. Just couldn't finish it.
Justin
And
Cobbs feeds inside. Richard Solomon gives California the lead.
Been a positive game for Richard Solomon. His quickness, agility, shot blocking ability has really demonstrated well today for Richard Solomon. He's done a very good job for the Bears coming off the bench.
Dexter Kernick drew. Royce Woolridge way short on a 3. But Brock Modem saves it for the Cougars. 12 on the shot clock.
Yeah, still plenty of time on the shot clock.
Steal by Richard Solomon. The big man leads the break. Wallace back to Solomon. Has it stripped out of bounds by Woolridge and a count ball, but the versatility by Richard Solomon, the 6'10" junior, to lead the break.
Well, you know, he is really quick in the open court. And you look at Richard Solomon, and he brings a lot to the table. Agility, ability to get the ball up quick, and certainly his athletic prowess around the rim really helps. So Solomon's had a big game for California this afternoon. And look now, he's being guarded by Woolridge, who's about 4 inches shorter than Solomon.
Whistle off the ball. Foul on Washington State. Junior Longer is called for his first personal. The freshman from Bishop O'Dowd High School here in the East Bay. Cougars' 4th team foul of the second half. Lob for Solomon, who was fronted by the much shorter Devontae Lacey. And they take advantage of it, get the foul on Lacey. That's his 4th.
That's
Devontae
great.
Lacey, who's scoreless also, but now 4 fouls, Dan, with just over 13 minutes to play.
Yeah, Devontae, I'm sure, will come out. And he's not had a very good shooting game this afternoon. He's played hard on defense, but normally he's a guy that will give you some offensive production. Good recognition, though, by California, going right back to the mismatch. And Solomon's just being guarded by men who are about 6 inches shorter. Well, how do you like Magba? How do you like that play? And he said, you know what? I made a few free throws. I can face up and score, too.
6-0 run for Cal. Bach with a season-high 5 points. Steal. Richard Solomon. Kick out for Crab. Wallace missing the 3. Loose ball, Washington State runs it down, and Royce Woolridge. And a timeout taken by Ken Bone in Washington State, who wants to settle things down here as Cal has scored the last 6 points. The Golden Bears have taken a 3-point lead on Washington State, and a tight one here in Berkeley. The Cougars looking for their first conference win, hustling and playing all out to get that first Pac-12 win. Want to hear what the coaches had to say about their team performance on the hardwood? Tune in on Mondays, 9 o'clock for Pac-12 Playbook. You get the courtside insight from the guys calling all the shots. Pac-12 Playbook, Monday at 9, only on Pac-12 Networks. Join Mike Yam, John McClain, Ernie Kent in the studio. Both teams starting to pick up. Speaking of Don McClain, good shooting here in the second half.
Yeah, and you know what Don's nickname was, right? You know what I used to call him?
What'd you call him?
Master of the baseline. Because when he was on the baseline, shot it every time, and about scored every time, too.
The conference's all-time scoring leader, Don McClain. Both teams shooting it well here in the second half. Cal by 3, 6 straight points for California. As Washington State needs to get a basket here. Mike Ladd drives to the basket. Nobody cut him off. And a pretty move to the hoop by Mike Ladd, who is in double figures now with 10.
And no defensive rotation that time for California, which is very unusual. But give Ladd props. He saw the angle and did a nice job.
Justin Cobbs, elbow, pull up, knocks it down.
Well, you know what's happening now is they're running Cobbs away from the point and running him on the baseline. And all of a sudden now, he's going to become more of a factor. He's not running the show. He's playing more of a 2-guard. And Tyrone Wallace is going to handle the point, which I think is a pretty good. Right? Why not? I mean, what is he, 2 for 2, isn't he?
Junior Longris with an offensive rebound. Nice move on the baseline, then missed it. And Tyrone Wallace skies for the rebound.
See if they continue to play Cobbs off the ball.
Cobbs didn't take a shot for the first 25 minutes of this game.
Well, I like the fact the last time when they ran Justin Cobbs under the rim and let him go ahead and circle around, they set some screens for him, looked for him, and popped him out. And like right here, he wasn't open. That well defended that time by
Illegal screen, Richard Solomon offensive foul. His 3rd personal foul, and Richard Solomon trying to plead his case there. Turnover to Washington State. The Cougars hanging in there. And Mike Ladd pulling the Washington State group within 3. California up 3, trying to salvage a home split of the Washington schools here in the Bay Area this weekend. Let's take a look at our 6th man of the game, brought to you by Motel 6, and it's Richard Solomon of Cal.
Well, here's our Motel 6 6th man of the game. And look at Solomon blocking shots, finishing plays, came off the bench, very active today. And he's at a nice line, so he's giving the Bears a big lift with the rebounds and points. And by the way, Roxy, you know, he also has 3 blocks in the game. So nice effort by Richard Solomon.
Dan, he started the first 13 games of the year for Mike Montgomery, but this weekend he made a switch with Robert Thurman going into the starting lineup. What have you seen from Richard Solomon, and how, it's not necessarily demotion, but how is he handled coming off the bench as opposed to starting?
Well, it is not easy for a player who has started to all of a sudden, for a number of games, to be relegated to the bench. And it takes a lot of fortitude and courage for a player to come off the bench and still be productive and keep their attitude up, and that's exactly what Solomon has done. And I think by his play today, I think you'll see Richard Solomon. My guess was he'll be in the lineup in the next game, starting.
Mike Ladd missing a three. David Kravish the rebound. Cal looks to push. Allen Crabbe attacks. Feeds Tyrone Wallace. Foul going up. A couple of free throws for the freshman from Bakersfield as Cal quickly turns a Washington State miss into free throw attempts.
Yeah, I love this transition by California. And the ball barely hit the ground. Maybe one dribble. They went length of the floor. And a good pass that time by Crabbe to get it inside. So Wallace will get to the foul line. And he's had a nice game. I mean, he's not a guy that's going to go out there and get huge numbers, but certainly they need him. And he has to be that third scorer out there.
Free throw rattles out for Wallace, who's now 2 of 4 at the line. And he has started the last 6 games before today. And Jeff Powers getting his first start of the season. One more shot coming here for Wallace. 9-2 run for California, and they have equaled their largest lead of the second half. They led by as many as 7 here in the first half.
I think this is going to go to Brock Modem. They're trying to find him. Solomon is, probably if you have one guy to cover Modem for California, Solomon may be the player because of his quickness and agility. He can stay with them a little bit better than the other bigs.
Mike Ladd throws it away, and the Cougars with a turnover. They hit a bump in the road at Stanford.
Sure did.
About middle of the second half on Wednesday night, and they're in danger of letting it happen again here to this afternoon in Berkeley. Is now.
I thought this ball, let's say they're going to look at it.
Now, Kurt Walker, they just came over to make sure. Kurt Walker and Roderick Dixon, Ken Bohm thinking maybe it was deflected by Cal, but it's not. Cougars have hit only 1 shot from the floor in the last 5 minutes.
Here goes Justin Cobbs again, Roxy, running that baseline, playing him away from the ball. And see if they're getting a legal screen by Kravish. Now, you got to be stationary. You cannot be moving. If you're moving and the defender hits you, it's going to be the foul. It's going to be that offensive player's foul. So that's his 4th.
4 fouls on Kravish with 9.5 minutes remaining. Brock Modem, a 3, blocked by Richard Solomon. His 4th of the game.
It's the 2nd block he's had on Modem.
On a 3?
You bet. He's got those long arms and he can extend, and that's probably a matchup Mike Montgomery likes right now.
1 off the career high in blocks for Solomon. 5 is his career best as a strip and steal. Royce Woolridge racing up the floor. Throws it up, blocked by Solomon. 5, Cal back the other way. Wallace is fouled by Junior Longris. Boy, end-to-end action and hustling 94 feet.
Well, I think if you're Ken Bowen, you're saying to yourself, what's this goaltending by Solomon? But did the ball, was the ball even near the rim? It definitely had hit the backboard. It's not the NBA where if it hits the backboard, it's an automatic goaltend. But it looked like it was still below the rim. I don't think it ever got it that high.
It was never going to get close to the rim either. It seemed like Woolridge was more determined to try to get a foul on Allen Crabbe than make the basket.
Well, on that angle, it was close. It was. He may have gotten it on the way up, but the ball definitely hit the glass. But that doesn't constitute an automatic goaltend.
Wallace missing the 2nd, but Jeff Powers runs it down. And Cal keeps it alive, leading it by 5 inside 9 minutes to play. Washington State in a danger zone right here, Dan.
California dictating tempo, and they're getting in their formations very well, and they're moving the ball. It seems like California's gotten into a flow. And it started by moving Cobbs away from the point and running him on the baseline. And since Mike Montgomery's made that adjustment, it seems like the California offense has functioned a lot better.
Cal in the bonus, 3rd personal on Brock Modem. And the 8th on Washington State, a 1-and-1 for Crabbe.
California, Allen Crabbe,
1-and-1 run for the Bears junior from Los Angeles. This is where the game got away from the Cougars on Wednesday night. As Crabb gets the first, and they're in danger of it happening for a second straight game here in the Bay Area. Alan Crabb leads Cal with 11. Brock Modem leads all scorers for Washington State with 15. Cal has matched their largest lead of the game. 12-2 run for the Golden Bears, up 7.
And doing a much better job from the foul line this afternoon than they did Thursday night.
Cal 15 of 22 from the stripe. Will DiOrio off balance inside, trying to draw a foul. Richard Solomon the rebound. Cal pushes. Alan Crabb for 3. And the rebound. Here comes Washington State in the counter with Mike Ladd. Tough step back. And Richard Solomon another rebound for the Bears. 8 minutes to go. Cal working on a 7-point lead here.
Yeah, Washington State has had a major problem making any mid-range shots in this afternoon. They've had some looks. The ball has not gone down.
Jeff Powers in the baseline. Cougars take it away. Looking to counter Washington State. Dexter Koenig drew a 3. Got it. 4-point game, and that was desperately needed by Washington State.
Well, they were shooting too close before. What the Cougars had to do was expand it, move away, back out of that two-point shot, get into a 3. California takes a timeout. And that was a monster shot by Koenig Drew to keep the Cougars close.
30-second timeout by Mike Montgomery, and that was sorely needed by Ken Bone's team.
Nice transition, and wide open, why not? Koenig Drew did a good job just to get it shoulder squared and get his body in the right spot. Mike Montgomery takes a quick TO.
Neither team is a deep team, and you look at injuries for California without Brandon Smith, without Ricky Krecklow, Christian Behrens, who had his ACL surgery yesterday. 3 key players no longer available to Mike Montgomery, at least today. They're hoping to get Brandon Smith back at some point soon. And also, who knows what's going to happen with Ricky Krecklow as he is day-to-day, as they say. It's just going to be pain management and tolerance in that right foot. But Mike Montgomery knows how to deal with it. He's been around a long time, 4-time conference coach of the year, closing in on 650 career wins. And, oh yeah, by the way, 20 win seasons for Mike Montgomery.
Yeah, that's a lot. People used to say, it's not that big of a deal, is it, to win 20 games? You know how difficult it is to win 20 games, Roxy? Incredibly difficult to win 20, and Mike's done it 20 seasons. He's won 20 games.
And he's wondering what the heck just happened there. A travel on California and a turnover. The Cougars trying to make a push. 4-point game here in Berkeley. Pac-12 basketball is brought to you by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. And by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the game's most refreshing beer. 4-point lead for California over Washington State. The Cougars looking for their first Pac-12 win. Cal looking to salvage a split here at home with the Washington schools, and the top 2 scorers in the conference. There's their head-to-head matchup. And Brock Modem right now getting the better of Alan Crabb.
Yeah, but Alan Crabb's come on the second half. I mean, he's played much better. He's getting active, look at the score. And Modem very consistent. And you see the field goal percentage about equal. But I like the way Alan Crabb has come out the second half. And, he's looked to make some plays. I think Modem's about due to explode. He's been quiet the last 4 or 5 minutes.
15 offensive rebounds for Washington State. And the Cougars are in this game despite shooting just 36% from the floor. Cougars spread the floor. Here is Mike Ladd. Shot clock at 12. Brock Modem guarded by Bach. DJ Shelton. Kick out. Dexter Koenig Drew the pull-up. Too strong. And the rebound. Offensive board number 16 for the Cougars as Mike Ladd pulls it out. His 8th offensive rebound and 10th of the game.
Yeah, Ladd has done an unbelievable job rebounding the ball. And they're trying to find Modem, who's being nicely guarded by Bach. Here's another block. But he's got a lot of blocks by California this afternoon.
David Kravish with that block shot. His third. Cal with 8 block shots in this game. It's the rebound numbers, and the Cougars a big-time edge on the offensive glass. And a reach-in against Will DiOrio of Washington State. His second, sending the Golden Bears' Alan Crabb to the free throw line here with 6:17 remaining. 9th team foul against Washington State.
And I think if California, Roxy's going to do anything and try to pull out this game, they've got to win the battle of the fouls. They've got to get to the foul line. Crabb is, you know, here's your ideal player to get to the foul line for California. So if they can take advantage of it, and they've got the Cougars in jeopardy and foul trouble, California might be able to come down the stretch, making enough free throws to win.
Coming up next, we'll take you to Salt Lake City as the Utah Utes will host Kevin O'Neal's USC Trojans. They're at the Huntsman Center on the Utah campus. One more coming for Crabb. And Alan Crabb with 14 points now. Averages 20.5 a game. And Allen with 10 here in the second half, and Cal leads it by 6.
Look at Bach. Bach is just all over Modem, trying to just deny the ball, which is smart. Look at Bach 15. He is all over Modem, just trying to keep the ball away, and now they set some screens. And I like the way Bach is playing it. I mean, he's playing great defense, and he's giving the Bears a little lift on the offensive end.
Woolridge gets the 3. And for Woolridge, that's his first three-pointer that he has made since December 1st against Portland. And with that 3, cuts the California lead in half, and the Cougs are within 3 with 5:48 remaining.
Well, Woolridge picked a good time to make it. Hasn't made one in a long time, but he popped out behind that screen, and they tried to get the ball to Modem, but Modem was well defended. And then Modem did a good job to find Woolridge, and the shot clock's winding down. And Bach didn't want to pop out on him because he didn't want to leave Modem all alone. So now they set a screen, and Woolridge, who hasn't made a shot, I'm sure California say, go ahead, try to make one. You haven't made one in a long time. Well, that answered that. He did.
So he makes his first three-pointer in over a month to pull Washington State within 3. Stay tuned immediately following our game for more men's basketball live as we put a cap on our triple header as Jordan Loveridge and the Utes hosting Eric Wise, the senior, and the USC Trojans. Pac-12 men's basketball, USC and Utah. Next, right here on Pac-12 Networks. Some concern for USC. Will Gio Fontaine play or not in that game, Dan? They did not have him in the second half in Boulder on Thursday night. Had difficulty breathing and dealing with a respiratory issue in the altitude there in Boulder. And let's see what happens coming up next in Salt Lake City if he can go for the Trojans.
Well, and they certainly, Kevin O'Neal obviously needs Gio Fontaine. I mean, they need him in the lineup. Is Bach going to do it again?
Tyrone Wallace, an offensive rebound and put back for the freshman who has 11. 5th time this season that Tyrone Wallace has been in double figures. A lob to nobody in particular.
Well, I think Crabb got a piece of it. I think Alan Crabb was working his hands, and he may have had that deflection. And California with another opportunity. He's being guarded by DiOrio is Alan Crabb. And they may want to look to Crabb again, but Wallace, he's wide open. And that was well done.
And the lefty makes it with the right hand. And Wallace ties a career high with 13.
He's had a big game. Tyrone Wallace, who does not score against Washington on Thursday, coming up huge here this afternoon.
Washington State needs to get Brock Modem involved here. 7-point Cal lead, 4:40 left. Will DiOrio thought about the 3.
It's a big possession for the Cougars. I mean, they need a productive trip.
Woolridge drives, hangs, missing, Shelton, swatted by Kravish, but a foul on Cal. And 2 free throws for the Cougars as the shot clock was down at 1.
Another offensive rebound, though, by Washington State. I mean, on the deflection, but right place at the right time. And Shelton will get to the foul line shooting 2.
Boy, his uncle was a great player at Oregon State in the NBA. Lonnie Shelton.
You bet. Lonnie, my recollection, was the early 80s at Oregon State, who played great. The Ralph Miller great teams they had at Oregon State.
Shelton now 1 of 3 at the line. The Orange Express.
Well, Lonnie was a tremendous pro player.
Oh, yeah.
Tremendous.
10 years in the NBA.
And my recollection, didn't he have a cousin, L.J. Shelton, who played for the Cleveland Browns?
Offensive lineman. Another cousin, Tim, played at San Diego State. Plus Titus Shelton played at Cal State Fullerton. But he misses both, and Cal with the ball at 7.
And now you got to take some chances. As Washington State looking to be a little bit disruptive. And California, if they can control the ball and just make good something, I go right up with it. See, that's a good play. Get to the foul line.
And David Kravish will go to the foul line. California leading it by 7, trying to get the victory over Washington State. 7-point lead for California over the Cougars. 3:57 remaining. Let's take a look at the Quicken Loans amazing play of the game.
Well, it was amazing because, again, Richard Sullivan, one of his 5 blocks, and he gets that deflection. Not only that, he finishes at the other end. I mean, it wasn't that's our Quicken Loan amazing, and it was amazing. You know what it was? Amazing.
What was it, Dan?
Amazing.
Quicken Loans engineered to amaze. 7-point lead for Richard Solomon in California. Solomon coming off the bench for the 2nd time this season. Is Robert Thurman sitting to his right, making his 2nd straight start. Is David Kravish at the line. 4 points for the sophomore from Lee Summit, Missouri. Knocks down the first of 2, and it's the largest lead for Cal of the entire game. Washington State has some foul difficulty now, 4 each on Devontae Lacey and Dexter Koenig-Drew. And Brock Modem with 3. Cal now up 9 on Washington State.
Well, you know,
Here's
it's got to be Modem. And look at Bach take the challenge. It's a win for California every time Modem gives up the ball.
Mike Ladd.
Look at Bach.
Cougars reclaim it. Koenig-Drew open. Misses the 3. Mike Ladd again on the offensive glass for the Cougars. He has had a very active game. He has been all over the glass.
Well, he's rebounded terrifically, and he's handled the point when called upon to run the team. So for California, they've really cashed in at the foul line. They've been able to run their offense, get the ball inside, draw some fouls.
Ladd with 9 offensive rebounds in his 2nd double-double of the season. 11 rebounds total. Bach inside, missing. And there is Ladd again, rebound number 12 for the senior. Brock Modem has his shot blocked by the freshman Tyrone Wallace.
How about Tyrone Wallace? From the backside that time on Modem.
9 blocked shots for Cal. Koenig-Drew playing with 4 fouls, guarding Cobbs. Kravish, pass deflected, stolen by Washington State, and a foul. And it's against David Kravish, his 4th personal foul. So Kravish has 4 for California. I take that back. That might be his 5th. It is. David Kravish is fouled out of this game for Mike Montgomery with 2:19 remaining.
There's the great block on the transition by Tyrone Wallace to get. That was a big deflection for California to negate that easy score that you thought Brock Modem would accomplish. Kravish fouls out.
Starter and the sophomore is done for the rest of this one, and Brock Modem will shoot a 1-and-1, Cal's 9th team foul. Modem 3 of 3 at the line in this one. 15 points for the senior from Brisbane, Australia. Rattles it out, and Richard Solomon corrals the rebound.
And Brock has been on 15 for quite a while. I mean, my recollection is he has not scored, I would say, in the last 10 minutes.
And a costly miss as Justin Cobbs is tripped up and Dexter Koenig-Drew has fouled out for Washington State. And it also puts Cal into the double bonus, and Cobbs will shoot a pair with 2:05 remaining. Looks like a tough deal for Koenig-Drew.
Well, I think they got caught up. I think their legs got caught up, and there was a little bit of contact. The official seemed to be in the right spot, so Cobbs will get to the foul line shooting a couple of free throws. The Bears are winning this game at the line. You know, they had Washington State in jeopardy, and they've done a great job to get to the foul line and make big foul shots here in the second half.
They called that one on Ladd, by the way, and not Koenig-Drew. That's Ladd's second, but it appeared that Koenig-Drew was in the area. That's a break for Washington State. Modem has been scoreless now the last 14 minutes. And a timeout for the Cougars. 9-point Cal lead, 2 minutes to play after Justin Cobbs drains both free throws. And the Cal bench giving them a strong contribution today. Not just Richard Solomon, but Tyrone Wallace is normally a starter for Cal. Has been terrific for the Bears off the bench.
Well, I think Tyrone's had a huge game. And came out right away to make some shots. And as you said, Roxy, came off the bench, but the bench has really played superbly today for California. Wallace blocked shots, scored inside, made threes. He was all over the floor, very active there. He's a left-hander, and he made it right-handed. And here may have been the biggest play of the game right here, because you think Brock Modem's going to go in for this easy score, and Tyrone Wallace comes out of nowhere to block it, keep it alive, and give California the possession. So not only a good job by Wallace, but really an excellent job by players coming off the bench for California this afternoon.
2 minutes left. The Cougars trailing Cal by 9 as Tyrone Wallace is tied at career best with 13. For Washington State, where do they need to go here? Where do they need
well,
this
you know
last
where they,
push coming
you know,
from?
Roxy, you know where they want to go. They want to go to Modem. But now Mike Montgomery's saying, I'm not taking Bok off the floor. I think he has made a massive difference because his agility and quickness, he's been able to keep the ball away from Brock Modem and not worry about anything else. And all of a sudden, the other 4 players on the floor for the Cougars haven't really demonstrated that they can give him that kind of firepower. Watch Bok. He's just got to try to stay with Modem and not allow him to touch it.
As for Modem, stolen by Richard Solomon.
Pretty good defense by the Bears. That was the mind. You know, it's the mindset.
Is that like the old line from Hoosiers where if he's chewing gum, I want to know what flavor
Yeah, right. I want to know what flavor. That's right.
And Dexter Koenig-Drew has now fouled out of this game, reaching in on Wallace.
And the answer is it was juicy fruit.
So Koenig-Drew has fouled out with 1:37 remaining. And Tyrone Wallace will go to the free throw line for California. 1:37 left. And the Cougars are in danger of falling to 0-3 in Pac-12 play and heading home to take on Utah on Wednesday night at Freehold Court right here on Pac-12 Networks. As the mountain schools go to the state of Washington, then Colorado will make the trip to Pullman. First one knocked in, and Wallace a new career high with 14 points. And he's 5 of 8 at the line. The freshman from Bakersfield has responded. And Cal leads it by 11 here. He might like coming off the bench, may feel more comfortable. To the basket, Royce Woolridge has his shot blocked. And Richard Solomon controls, and Cal will look to run some clock. Woolridge trying to foul. And he does foul Justin Cobbs with 1:17 remaining in the second on Royce Woolridge. And unfortunately for Ken Bone, Dan, he's seen this story before this weekend. He saw it on Wednesday night when they were across the bay over at Stanford, where the final 10 minutes had got away from them. And the same thing has happened here in Berkeley this afternoon. A strong 30 minutes from Washington State. Now, Stanford shot the lights out Wednesday night, and Cal found a way to take this game over down the stretch.
Well, they sure did, and they're taking it over at the foul line. And you know, if you're Ken Bone, you know, Roxy, the difficulty is where do you go for some scoring if all of a sudden you're not getting it from Brock Modem? And there's you know, the Cougars' upcoming schedule. Colorado, who's desperate for a win, by the way. And I thought Colorado would be a real factor in the Pac-12. They got off to a tough start when they lost that home game against Arizona, road game rather, against Arizona. So the Cougars have to find another scorer. They got to find another guy that can pick up the slack when Brock Modem is shut down like he has been for most of this second half.
It has not helped Washington State that Devontae Lacey has gone scoreless in this one. He's one of those guys they look to. He averages 11 points a game as the Cougars will put Cal at the free throw line again. Lacey, who missed 4 games earlier this year with a knee injury, came back and played very well against Gonzaga, went for a career-high 22, but has had a tough time today. Justin Cobb's to the line. Rolls the first one in. He's 5 of 5 at the line. As there is Lacey, who has struggled for Washington State today. As Devontae Lacey, 4 fouls and only 1 point for the sophomore from Tacoma. Cal has outscored Washington State 21-8 over the last 10-plus minutes, and they were outscored down the stretch by Stanford on Wednesday night, 24-10.
Well, the other major adjustment I thought in the second half for Washington State was taking Justin Cobbs and moving him away from the point and running him on the baseline and getting him more involved in the offense, and it paid off. I mean, he came up big in the second half. He didn't have a shot attempt in the first half. In fact, he and Crabbe combined only had 2 shot attempts. Now, how do you figure that for California? And yet they were right in the game ahead, in fact, at halftime. So that had to change. That could not happen in the second half. And major adjustments by Mike Montgomery and his staff, and it's paid off.
Cobbs with all 10 of his points in the second half as Brock Modem finally gets back in the scoring column after about 15 minutes. First point in 14.5 minutes, and then missing the second. He's had a rough second half, and Richard Solomon the rebound. And a foul on the Cougars with 52 seconds remaining. Modem with his 4th. And Cal will go to the free throw line here, up 14. And Alan Crabbe with 10 of his 14 in the second half.
Well, Crabbe, I thought, set the tone. He came out right away, made a quick 2, then a 3, got 5 in a hurry. They gave California a little bit of a boost, and Ken Bone, you know, a little bit dejected. You know, it was tough. This was really, they haven't played very many games, true road games, on the road.
Just their 3rd.
Yeah, just their 3rd when they entered the Pac-12 conference. So it's been difficult for him. He thought they had a chance to beat Stanford, and as you said, Stanford shot the ball great and found a way to win that at the end. And coming in today, I thought they played well for most of the game, but California just too much in the second half, put Washington State in jeopardy, and the Cougars really could not find any other scorers. I mean, need some other guys to step up and make a shot. They got very few mid-range shot attempts that went in for Washington State.
Cal's done a tremendous job of shutting down Brock Modem here in the second half, as the leaner missed by Woolridge, but tipped in by Junior Longris.
Boy, that was an unbelievable tip in by Longris. I mean, from about 3 feet, he was able to get that one down. That was not easy.
And he's a high school teammate of Arizona's Brandon Ashley. Bishop O'Dowd before Ashley left to go to Finlay Prep.
Yeah, that was an O'Dowd team that won their division, won the state championship a couple of years ago.
Cal will run out the clock here.
Bishop O'Dowd, what's their nicknames? I'll give you a little quiz.
The Dragons.
Oh, you got it.
Come on, Dan.
Oh, I know, that was too easy. I always like to give a quiz, but that was too easy.
A shot clock violation. The Bears could not run out the clock completely, and now Washington State will get one last possession with 1.1 on the clock. Bryce Levitt in for Ken Bone here in the final minute. And that'll do it. Washington State falls to 0-3 in Pac-12 play. And Cal gets their 10th win as they salvage a split here at home in a win that Mike Montgomery and his team desperately needed here today.
Well, they really needed this win. And I thought Cobbs played great in the second half. And let's face it, when Crabbe went down with that little tweak of the ankle to start the game, now if you're a California fan, you're thinking, oh no, another injury. But good job by the Bears. They won it at the line. Brock Modem, a terrific player. Bach did a good defensive job on it.
So California gets the win for Dan Belwamany, an outstanding Pac-12 Network crew. Roxy Bernstein reminding you the final score. California 67, Washington State 54. Good day from Berkeley.